Hi everyone, long time no see and long time no recording. I've come to the conclusion that I'd like this channel to be a place for me to grow more into the creator I want to be, whether it'll be only YouTube, TikTok or any other medium, and not wait for the perfect moment to record or the perfect copy I have in mind for a particular video. I'd like for you to be part of the journey I have throughout books, films, TV series and games, and not really wait for the perfect angle, the perfect lighting, whatever else. Just, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process as I'm learning new things, and not be so perfectionist about it, but really have joy in creating all these things. One of the topics I'd like to talk about today is my love for philosophy. I'm a big geek when it comes to philosophy, and especially while using TikTok these days, I pay a lot of attention to memes. And a lot of times I do understand loads of the punchline, the joke itself, the visuals, but more and more I come to the conclusion that, wait a minute, I need some more knowledge to really get into it. I'm the sort of person that really, has a lot of the background knowledge in terms, of stoicism, absurdism, a bit of existentialism, some of the big names like Camus, Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Plato, Epicure, um, Diogenes, and all the other old dudes. But a lot of times you rely on the surface knowledge, I would say. You don't really delve deeper into it because I can understand the memes, I can understand the punchlines. Um, but these days and during the pandemic, I think it's a good way for you to redevelop yourself and be more in tune with what people are talking about and be more, grounded and school and educated and suave, knowing a bit more and having an opinion yourself. I think it's important to build your own opinion and not rely on summaries or how people retell it, because I've come time and time again to the conclusion that actually I can have a different opinion than the mainstream or the niche that I learn about the idea or the book or the work of art from, and it's been really a lesson to me to build my own self up and rely on my own opinion. So the work I actually delved into and the philosopher I wanted to learn more about was actually one that I came across as being very depressive in his writing, being very hard to understand, being kind of, wannabe philosopher, or rather a sort of authority figure for people saying that they're into philosophy the same way as Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, or, yeah, Kierkegaard is. And I've been reading Kierkegaard for some time now. I'm reading a Polish translation of one of his most famous work of writing called Fear and Trembling. And let me tell you, it's right. It is a ride because it's a very religious text. It's very grounded in the Bible and the biblical understanding of stories or, the Old Testament understanding of things. One of the key issues, for example, is the story of Abraham and his son Isaac and the sacrificial lamb. And I think it can be tricky to understand Kierkegaard, especially if it's like the first philosopher you come across and the first one you read, actually. As I said, I have a bit of like surface knowledge or a number of mm, philosophical tides and the sort of understanding people have of them, and that was always interesting to me. And when I'm now in my 20s, I'd like to delve more into it. But on the other hand, it's very refreshing to me. Like, it's a perspective I never learned about before. It's something that actually TikTok enabled me to find for myself. Kierkegaard is a like his writing is not that complicated. The language is obviously dated. The translation does the job, I guess. You have a lot of interjections from French, Latin, and Greek as well within the text. Um, and it's more, sort of. at least to me, like a nod to the reader, like, yeah, I know all the languages. See me go, peasants. Whereas I will have to like come back to some passages with a translator or a dictionary because there are super um, like they are not key to the text, but at the same time, it'd be nice to understand what he means by them. And some phrases, obviously, I do get. I don't speak French or Latin or Greek. But at the same time, the ideas that he provides are very complicated in the sense that you have the issue of authority, of who we put on the pedestal, who we as society look up onto, and that some of the authority figures should never be put up in the first place because they're actually criminals or people that are morally corrupt, which is interesting. Like, I never learned more about this, to be honest, in my um, education. Never heard more about Kierkegaard. It's not very popular in Poland, I would say. During my studies, I never had, a use for his writing because I studied business. But it's a very challenging read. Like, I have to come back to it a few times, read the passages a few times, but it's a good read if you want to pace yourself and really give yourself space to think and not overtire yourself. I think when you read philosophy, you have to give yourself space, time, and be in the mood to think things through as well. Which is it's really grateful. Like, I'm not even in the middle. Like, I think I'm in like 1/4 of the book. It's not really long either. It's around 100 pages, but it's really worth having a read through and forming your own opinion. Like, um, I have a few books actually bought from this series because I wanted to, as I said, delve more into the philosophy. So I have Schopenhauer. I have someone from the Absurdist movement as well, I think. I have a few books on different political movements as well that I want to read, so I think that's going to make it interesting series when I'm finally finished with it and can give it a proper review. In terms of the second book I'm currently reading is actually a Polish book of stories, and it's called Dysphoria, the Cases of Polish Townspeople. And it's a way for me to get inspired, really. I'm trying to get more into writing prose of my own. I've always been more of a poetry girl. I've written prose for fun fiction purposes or for my student publications, but not really anything lengthy. With the pandemic still going on, I'm thinking of maybe writing a proper book or maybe writing a proper novel or at least some flash fiction that's more lengthy than 2 pages. And this book is a great source of inspiration for me. Like, I've read a few books like this in the sense that these books portray today's Poland, the kind of conflict between city folk, the town folk, the village folk, and at the same time it's really fascinating what's getting popular, what's getting reviewed, what's getting people talking. I'm not a big fan of reading fiction. I read a lot of non-fiction and want to form my opinion on, things happening in real life. Or poetry. I like poetry. But I'm getting more into reading stories, to get myself inspired, to see what my sort of style of writing is like, whether people would actually find it annoying or actually approachable, because I tend to give really poetic descriptions. And you can obviously tell that I write a lot of poetry by reading my writing. It's about emotions and the sort of thing. And I think people like heavy action, heavy dialogue scenes. So it's something that I need to work more upon. In terms of this book, like, I like reading it in terms of research, and it's one of the books I read for that, but at the same time I just cannot agree with it in a lot of the stories that are portrayed here, because loads of them are obviously author self-inserts. Like, the author was born, and I understand as well, raised in Warsaw, and you can obviously tell that when you're reading stories that, this the rich city folk get uh, critique, but the critique is not really being critical about them. It's more, the sort of stereotypes and the sort of yeah, you're bad, but then you're not that bad, sort of thing, which is annoying to me. Like the portrayal of town people or village folk is really unfair, and I think it's really tiresome to read the same stories written by the same people about how wonderful Warsaw is and how wonderful lives are there, and just have all the same stories, all the same cliches over and over and over again. Um, and it's really written from a city folk perspective in terms of if you don't have a flat, bought by your own money, then you're not important enough at all. Like you don't matter in society, or which is not true. I think not true, and your life should not be about money. But I think it's quite an understatement when you're still a fairly young capital society that is still being on the pedestal, and it's really still being used as a sort of magnet and a sort of magnifying glass whether people are doing the social ladder climb or not. It's tiresome, and maybe, it'd be my pleasure and my ability to break into the sort of narrative and write my own stories from different perspectives. And I think it's really important to have different perspectives reflected and to have a dialogue between stories, settings, and characters, and not have the same two or three stories being told time and time again. At the same time, I think it's a bit of my fault reading slice of life things instead of reading, cross-genre things that I think we reflect better about society and, city life, etc., etc. But at the same time, it's easier for me to play games with topics like that, or watch movies or series with books. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me, especially with crime stories. I like Agatha Christie, and that's all for me for books. I get bored really quickly with them. But maybe it's my time to pick up a book like that and, not be so skeptical about them. Hope you like it. Hope you like the video. I really recommend giving Kierkegaard a read in your own language or in English with Fear and Trembling. And with this book, I think I'm gonna review more English books, or at least books that have translations. But this reminds me a lot about, normal people in terms of English-speaking books, that you have different people from different walks of life, different stories, and how society is shaped by wealth, distribution of wealth, and how people go through the same or different things are still same and different at the same time in various backgrounds and various settings. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you look forward to more videos from me. Thank you for being here with me, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!